Well, here goes nothing. Hello and welcome back. It's been a pretty long time since I've made a video sharing one of my projects. And this one has been quite a journey, and I'm very excited to share it with you. A lot of the time my art starts with just a very abstract idea. In this case, it was just a single word. The goal for this project is to capture and map out chaos on a piece of paper in the form of a drawing. To be clear, I'm talking about chaos in the scientific sense. If you're not familiar with chaos theory, that is okay. I'm gonna get into it a little bit later in the video. For now, let's just start building. The original rough idea was to create some sort of rotating drawing device that could draw with multiple markers at the same time. So far, not a crazy, groundbreaking idea, but I also wanted to introduce some unpredictability into the drawing. So instead of having a fixed axis of rotation like a compass would, I drilled a bunch of holes so that the axis could be moved while drawing. I wanted a tool that could transform data or a series of numbers into a drawing. Essentially, I would need 3 sets of numbers. The first would identify the hole in the device I was using as an axis. The second number would be the degrees of rotation around that axis. And the third number would represent the direction of rotation. So in this case, either clockwise or counterclockwise. I wanted these numbers to be sort of impartial, so I used a random number generator that I found online to give me my 3 sets of numbers. Then I tested them out on paper. And I have to say, the results were not very impressive. The device just sort of spun in circles that may have technically been chaotic, but they were not visually impressive. This was a little bit of a failure, but I think that the basic idea is actually pretty good. It's just my device that didn't work correctly. So I decided to make another one, this time in the shape of a triangle. But as it turns out, the triangle was even worse. It still got stuck in the same death spiral, and the patterns it made were actually even less interesting than the original. I got kind of frustrated at this point, so I did a little more research into chaotic movement, and one example came up again and again: the double pendulum. There's a misconception that chaos and randomness are the same thing. But in mathematics, chaos actually follows a set of rules. What makes something chaotic is that these rules interact in such complex ways that the results are almost impossible to predict. The other defining quality of chaos is that it is very sensitive to change. So 2 slightly different starting points will end up having wildly different results over time. Take the double pendulum, for example. The physics behind it are pretty simple. There's no mystery to how this thing works. But slight variations in the position it's released from can lead to a very different series of movements that are pretty much impossible to predict with any sort of accuracy beforehand. This is what's known as a complex chaotic system. I put together yet another cardboard prototype that I then traced onto a chunk of MDF. In the hopes of creating my own chaotic system, the final device had 2 fixed arms, 4 holes for pens, and 7 holes for the axis. So let's test it out. All of the drawings I'm going to be doing are really just a set of 4 movements repeated over and over again. So far, so good. The device is not falling into a death spiral, and the patterns that I'm getting are both pretty interesting and very different from each other. The question now is, how do I turn this into a finished piece of art? Well, up until this point, I only had 2 markers loaded into the drawing tool. So I decided to pick out the most interesting pattern and draw it out with 4 markers. And immediately screwed it up. Several times, actually. At first, I bought the wrong kind of paper and the ink bled through really badly. I was also pretty clumsy and ended up with some pretty wobbly lines. Eventually, I got all those issues figured out. And the drawing was actually going pretty good. Until I got mixed up about halfway through the sequence. Keep going, that was 3?
Yeah. Oh.
No! Oh no! I put it in the wrong hole. 2. After wasting a bunch of expensive paper, I decided to go back to the art supply store, get one last piece of paper, and try and make this thing work. I traced out the pattern twice on the paper, reversing the order of the colors between the 2 sequences. So, was this project a success? I would say yes. It was cool seeing a boring sequence of numbers turn into a beautiful pattern. And the final drawing is interesting. It's not blowing my mind. I think I might redo it on a larger piece of paper with maybe some more negative space between the 2 sequences. But coming up with a composition for these sorts of drawings is pretty difficult because the patterns never really come out exactly the same more than once, which I guess is appropriate for the topic. But I think I'm onto something interesting here. Be sure to turn on notifications because there will be a follow-up to this video coming soon. The music for today's video was kindly provided by my very talented friend Hunter Brown. If you like his music, I have included a link in the description below to a full album. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It is a huge help to the channel. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.